Welcome to Business Buying Strategies, the UK's #1 podcast for smart business buyers. Hosted by Jonathan Jay, one of the world's leading authorities on small business acquisition. This show helps you buy your first business without risking your own money. Ready to get started? Don't forget to grab your free business buying toolkit, packed with reports, videos, and cheat sheets at dealmakerspodcast.co.uk.
Hi, this is Jonathan Jay, and welcome to Business Buying Strategies, the #1 podcast for people interested in buying a business without risking any of their own cash. Now, over the next few weeks, I have some foundation courses coming up that you might be interested in coming along to. Now, this is something brand new. It is a 3-day live program where you can spend 3 days with me, my colleagues, my team, previous Mastermind delegates, plus 40 people just like you in the same situation, eager to buy a business, needing the foundation steps. And I will teach you during that 3-day program, the blueprint. I will teach you the complete business buying system and lay it out step by step so you leave the 3-day foundation program with a plan. And there is a link in the podcast description. Now, we're only accepting 40 people onto each program, so if you want to join us, you better be quick. On this week's episode, we've got something a little bit different. Now, people always have questions about buying a business, and I did a coffee with Jonathan, a virtual coffee with Jonathan the other week, where I answered questions. I didn't know what the questions were going to be. There were some really fun questions, and some questions that I thought would be helpful to you, my podcast listeners. So what we've done is taken some of those questions and we've turned them into this week's podcast episode. So here we go, something new, something different, a Q&A podcast. Talish says, I've done one meeting in person and another one with some other business owner next month. They have agreed for deferred payments and I want to fund the deal with revenue payout. And I'm not sure. Oh, I think I know what you mean. Okay. Please advise. All right. Okay. This would be my advice. And this is, I'm speaking to Talish, but I'm really speaking to everyone here. Is that what I would say is that if you watch my videos and everything, you probably think that buying a business is getting some asset finance for your day one consideration payment and then deferring the rest over 3, 4, 5 years. Because that is said a lot across a lot of videos across a number of years. It doesn't really work like that anymore. It's not as straightforward and as simple as that. The market has matured over the last few years, and you won't be able, well, you might, but it's highly unlikely that you'll be able to do a deal as simple and as straightforward as that. So I'm told that people really enjoy my videos and my podcasts. And we put a lot of effort into them, and I hope you enjoy them. And if you do, let me know if you enjoy them. And if you don't, let me know if you don't enjoy them and tell me why, and we'll try and fix it. But the thing is, there's only so much you can say in a podcast, and I have to be mindful that my clients, my mastermind clients, are paying for knowledge and advice. So I'm not going to give that away free. What they paid for, I'm not going to give away free on the internet, because that would just be ridiculous. And all my clients would be complaining to me saying, Jonathan, we've just paid for that information. You've given it away free on the internet. So what we give away free on the internet is vanilla. All right. If you imagine an ice cream shop, I went into a lovely ice cream shop in Windermere yesterday, and I had what did I have? It was a coffee and walnut ice cream. Now they had some really delicious flavors. All right. Coffee and walnut ice cream, quite an unusual flavor. You don't see that in every ice cream shop. But imagine that every ice cream was vanilla. Right, that's what you get if you just follow the advice on YouTube and podcasts. What we've got in Mastermind are all the different flavors. So there's more than one way of doing this, Talish. But well done on taking action. I like that. That's good. Taking action is the key to everything. Phil M says, I've been following you for a few years, and I've been to your event in Richmond. I think I'm at the point where I can get going. All right. Well, Phil, that's brilliant. I don't know which event in Richmond it was. I've done quite a few because I live in Richmond. So I do a lot of things in Richmond. What I would suggest you do is on your screen, if you can see that, dealmakers.co.uk/clarity, I would book in a 10-minute clarity call today, tomorrow, preferably today while it's on your mind, and just have a chat with one of my team. No obligation, but what it will do, it will help you sort out the options, because we've got some different things now. You know, if you looked at what we did like a year ago, we've got new things now that weren't available a year ago. So just do that, Phil. Have a chat with either Jamie Lee or Jeremy today, and they'll be able to help you get you focused. Yeah. So Joanne's question that she's now just written here is, and by the way, you know, if we do one of these in the future, this is a one-off. I might do it again next week. I don't know, but this is a one-off at the moment. Just write the questions in the chat box while we're doing it, like everyone is. You don't need to send them in advance. Joanne says, trying to locate businesses which are not in the UK. Okay. Joanne, are you in the UK? You're looking in Europe, and you get mostly brokers. Well, we know that we need to avoid brokers, right? For your first deal, a broker deal is a bad one. Is never going to work for you. But Joanne, just tell me something. Where are you based? So where do you live? You live in Spain, right? Okay, fantastic. So you want to buy businesses presumably in Spain, right? Well, Joanne, it's exactly the same process as if you were in England buying businesses in England. Our deal sourcing processes don't change. They are fundamentally the same. A few tweaks depending on certain factors, but fundamentally they are exactly the same. But we'll come back to that, Joanne, if we got time today. Harjinder, hi Harjinder. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So Harjinder's saying, what percentage of people after 2 years buy a business? Well, the average time actually is 6 months. So I don't know where the 2 years comes from. What I would say, Harjinder, is that every single person who follows the process buys a business if they put the effort in. And there is some effort involved. I mean, anyone who will tell you on Instagram, yeah, it's get rich quick, you don't have to do anything, they're not entirely telling you the truth. You have to put the effort in. Now, I've got great examples of, Jason is one of them. He was on Mastermind in 2018. So what's that, 7 years ago? And he disappeared for 4 years. Didn't hear anything from him for 4 years. You know, was he successful? Was he not successful? He just disappeared for 4 years. Don't know. And then he came back again and he joined our inner circle group, which is people who've already bought a business. And he'd just done his first deal, which was a 19 million revenue steel fabrication business in the northeast of England. In actual fact, coming back to Joanne, he was living in Marbella. He was living in Spain with a baby at the time. You know, his wife had just given birth to their first child. So he was running it all remotely. He's now at 50 million of revenue. Now, I wasn't going to count him, you know, using your 2-year stats here, Harjinder, we'd have said, well, he wasn't successful. In fact, he is one of our most successful masterminders in terms of scale and numbers, but he disappeared for a few years. So there isn't a hard and fast answer to that. Sonny, hi Sonny, says, hello. If contacting businesses and or conducting Zoom meets are not the best way, how does it work if you live abroad? Telephone. Talk to people on the phone. It's as simple as that. Now, you will need to meet people face to face at some point. I have had clients do entire deals on Zoom without ever meeting anyone, but that was actually during lockdown when they couldn't meet anyone. They couldn't travel. They couldn't do meetings face to face. I like Zoom. I use Zoom a lot, but for your very first contact with the owner, let's make it a phone call. You don't need to go beyond that. Daniel says, would you recommend a smaller business for the first acquisition? To get experience in the same sector, obviously, when I say small, I mean one about 500,000 turnover and around 5 staff. You're probably buying yourself a real pain in the neck there, Daniel. Something with 5 staff. It might work, but I wouldn't be betting money on it working. You're better to go with a better business. Look, Daniel, buying small businesses are fraught with problems because they're typically so owner reliant. Once the owner's gone, that relationship has gone with those 5 staff, And all it takes is one person to leave, one person not to like you, and you're down 40%. Do you see what I mean? My answer, actually, if you're pushing me to give you a yes no answer, should you do it? I say no, I don't think you should. I don't think you should buy a smaller business just to get started, because it would be so hard to buy business number 2 when you're struggling with business number 1. Okay.
You listen to the podcast, but maybe you're not sure about the next step. You can have a call with one of Jonathan's team, a one-to-one Zoom call, 10, 12, 15 minutes in duration, where you can discuss your particular situation, what it is that you want to achieve, and maybe how we can help get you there an awful lot faster. So if you're interested in having a call with one of Jonathan's team, then find the link in the podcast description, book your time and date, and get some clarity about your business buying journey.
Next is Harold. This is the franchise question. This is for a restoration company that strictly deals with insurance companies. Okay. The franchise is given a territory. Sure, that's what franchises are. And whenever a claim comes through, it's given to the appropriate franchise pending their territory. Exactly. There are 3 staff on hand. Remember what I just said about 5 staff a moment ago, but the majority of the work is completed by hired trades. The EBITDA is very healthy. Now, you told me earlier, Harold, that your franchise business that you're looking at was different to other franchises. What you've just described is exactly the same as every franchise. I know a bit about franchising. I had a business that I franchised into other countries like 20 years ago. So I know a little bit about this. So what you've just described there is not different to any other franchise. And my advice is the same. Stay clear, avoid. You can't change the name, you can't change the marketing. You pay a percentage of your revenue up to the franchisor. You only work in one territory, so there's no opportunity to expand unless you buy another franchise. Basically, a franchise is a job masquerading as a business. That's what it is. A franchise is a job masquerading as a business. It's not really a business, it's a job. So Harold, sorry to disappoint you, but you've got to steer clear of that, please. Graham says, I can attest that if you don't put the effort, you don't get there. I'm coming back after disappearing for 18 months. Graham, I recognize your surname. It's an unusual surname. I recognize your surname. Good to have you today. By the way, if you need a little bit of help, bit of clarity around how we could help you, or maybe even what your direction is, we've got lots of different things. We've got Mastermind. We've also got a 3-day live training. Have a chat with one of my team about that. Just go to dealmakers.co.uk/clarity. It's up on the screen for you. Book in a time for today. I think there could be a few times for tomorrow, but just book in a time. Have a chat with either Jamie Lee or Jeremy. Have a conversation with them, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction of what you need to know. Right. Now I'm going to try and pronounce your name, but I know I'm going to get it wrong. Is it Chioki? Says, can you give us introductions on how to do the buying a business in Canada? Also, yeah, we've got lots of Mastermind clients in Canada. We have Mastermind clients in just about every country in the world. So we have people very successful in Canada buying businesses exactly the same way as people do it in the UK. So if you're thinking about doing Mastermind, but you holding you back because you're in Canada, there's no reason for it to hold you back at all. So book a call in with one of my people, and they'll have a chat with you about that. Hi, Sanjay. You're on Mastermind already. Brilliant. Wow, you've done loads. That is fantastic. All right. The one thing I would just help you with, Sanjay has done, it sounds like you've been on Mastermind for just a short time, but you've done loads, which is brilliant, but you're talking to brokers. Now, maybe you haven't got to the module where we say don't talk to brokers. You haven't got that far yet, because you're saying, I think both businesses are overvalued. Do I make an offer on my calculations? You say you're on module 5. Do all the modules before you do anything else. Sanjay, please do all the training before you do anything else, because first of all, you shouldn't be speaking to brokers for your first deal. It will just mess you around and so forth. You're right when you think that they're overvalued. That's what brokers do. And you don't make offers. You absolutely don't make offers to buy a business. You don't do that. But I think you're such an early stage of the program, you haven't got to that bit yet. So Sanjay, do all the training first and then go back to, brilliant, well done on taking the action, but get the knowledge first. Otherwise your action will be running ahead of you and the knowledge will be catching up. Okay? Mark says, what about buying small businesses and combining them into my existing business? Every single mastermind client who owns a business is doing exactly that, Mark. Buying other businesses and combining them into their existing business and making their existing business bigger. 100%. And you should be doing the same. Have a chat with one of my team on a clarity call. Book in a clarity call, Mark, and have a chat with one of my team about that, because we can help you with that. So Phil says, one quick further question, if that's okay. Let's say I find a business, okay? I can release the initial consideration through asset invoice finance and agree to pay the rest over 3 years. Remember what I said, though? That's kind of old hat now. There are far better ways of doing it, just so you know. How much should I have set aside for all initial fees? Zero. Nothing. All professional fees are paid for by the company that you're buying once you bought it. Okay. So it doesn't come out of your pocket at all. So you don't need to set anything aside. Oh, right. Sorry. I should have read the rest of the message. Perhaps the legal fees can be deferred. No, we're not deferring them. It is standard practice to pay those fees on completion. Now, if you go and find a lawyer on Google, they will want money on account, which means basically you have to pay something in advance because they don't know you. You're a stranger to them. They're a stranger to you. The chances of you finding a good lawyer on Google from just looking at websites is very, very slim. Those of you know, I'm speaking maybe to Callum, who's just joined Mastermind on Friday. What you might not realize is that we've got a great deal team. So the deal team that we have won't want money on account. Now, you might then think, what if the business that I'm buying can't afford the legal fees of the acquisition? Let me tell you the truth about that one. You're buying the wrong business. If the business that you're buying can't afford its own acquisition legal fees, then you're buying a business that's either too small or it's not making enough money. Neil says, morning, I'm in real estate rentals and development. Just work for myself with my wife. We outsource the building work. Okay. I'd like to start buying businesses. I'd like to get 5 million to 10 million EBITDA inside 18 months with a management structure. All right, stop right there. Neil, it's not going to happen, which is probably the opposite of what you wanted me to say. You are not going to get 5 to 10 million pre-tax profit after 18 months. I'll tell you a more realistic timescale in a moment. What industries would this work with? Oh, right. So you're not going to stick to what you know. So real estate rentals. I would stick to what you know. I was looking at domiciliary care, not the most exciting. Maybe manufacturing. Right. Okay. So much in this message. This is brilliant. Neil, we're not looking for exciting businesses. We're looking for businesses that make money. And when a business makes money, that is exciting. do you see what I mean? It's not about, yippee, I have this exciting business. The exciting bit is when you check your bank account. And then Neil goes, maybe manufacturing. I'm open to ideas. What's your thoughts? It is completely unrealistic if at this stage you don't know what type of business you're going to buy to say that you're going to get to 5 to 10 million. By the way, 5 million and 10 million. And we're talking about pre-tax profit. Neil's talking about pre-tax profit. One number is double the other. So let's make our mind up here. Is it this number or is it the one that's double that number? It's a big range. In 18 months, it's not going to work, Neil. It's not going to happen. Now, can you get to 1 or 2 million EBITDA in 18 months? Yeah, very likely. You've got to think about this. There's going to be a learning curve. If you're going to buy in a business that you have no experience of, there's the learning curve of that business. And then there's the learning curve of learning how to buy a business. Now, I can hold your hand through the entire process. That's what I do with people all the time. I'll hold your hand. I'll make sure you don't make silly mistakes. I'll look after you, okay? I'll make sure you don't sign the wrong piece of paper and lose your house. And someone who was not on Mastermind, I hasten to add, that happened to them. I found out about it afterwards. He sent me a message on LinkedIn and said, you told me to join Mastermind when we had a chat. I didn't listen to you. I thought I could do it by myself. This is my current situation. He lost the family house because he didn't know what he was doing and he signed the wrong piece of paper and it all went horribly wrong. And by that time, it was too late to help him. It was too late to save him. But Neil, realistically, if you don't know what sector you want to buy in, getting to 10 million of pre-tax profit in a year and a half, yes, by the end of 2026, it's just not going to happen. have a chat with one of my people, okay? And we'll help you get clear on what you could do. So dealmakers.co.uk/clarity if you want to have a chat with one of my people. That's the follow-up, by the way, to today's session. Right, loads more to do. Hi, Joanne again. As this is Joanne in Spain. I was negotiating a deal with a company and the main owner/seller discussed it with his top people. I was negotiating a deal with a company and the main owner discussed it with his top people. Okay. He had to do this because they also owned some shares. Actually, he probably didn't have to do that because a shareholders agreement would give the majority shareholder, which sounds like the person you were talking to, the right to drag the other minority shareholders on a deal. Imagine this. You own a business and you own 90% of it. No, let's make this an extreme example. You have a business, you own 99% of it, and one person owns 1%. One of your top people owns 1%. Okay. And then you decide you want to sell the business, and the sale is blocked by the person who owns 1%. That would just be ridiculous. You own 99%. You can't sell your business because this person owning 1%. So probably he didn't have to consult, but I'll let that one go for the moment. As soon as they heard about it, they decided it was a good idea to buy the company. Hang on. As soon as they heard about it, so this is the management, they decided it was a good idea. And they wanted to do the deal and convince the main owner to sell his shares to them instead of me. Okay. So basically, the owner had a chat with his management team. His management team said, boss, can we buy the business? And that's what's happening. My response, Joanne, and take this in the way that it is intended, is kind of, so what? Who cares? Move on. Next one. Why does it matter? If we all cast our minds back to when we were younger and we were dating people, okay? And you go on a date with someone, and within about an hour, you're thinking, no, this isn't for me. What happens? You don't stop. You just go on a date with someone else. And you're probably not talking about that one that wasn't for you years later. I see this sometimes with new business buyers. They talk about the deals that don't happen rather than the deals that do happen. And that means that they kind of, I'm not saying this is you, Joanne, but some people get kind of sucked into the negativity of the things that didn't work rather than saying, well, who cares? Move on to the next one. What you need, Joanne, is deal flow. You need to be speaking to lots and lots of owners. The more owners you speak to, the better the results that you will get. Danny also says, and you wouldn't get a solicitor involved for heads of terms, obviously, will you? Well, not obviously. You don't necessarily need to. It depends on the size of the deal. If it's a larger deal, then I would have a solicitor at heads of terms, yes. Aman says, do you get access to the deal team on the foundation program? No, on our 3-day foundation program, you get what it says you get on the foundation program. So no, my closest contacts are only available to my closest clients who are my masterminders. Reno says, for an asset purchase, can a newly formed SPV with no existing cash flow, because it's an empty company, obtain financing, such as asset-based lending? You don't need to, because the SPV is not getting the financing. There you go. Simple answer. Yes, Chioki, we've got deal team people in Canada as well. Graham says, yes, I am. You mentioned clarity. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're thinking about working with us in some respect, or you need some help to buy a business, then book in a clarity call with one of the team today, this morning, this afternoon, or tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon, and have a chat with us. Okay. Harjinder says, should you buy a business near you so you can keep an eye on it? Is it acceptable to buy a business far away? Well, if you've got a choice between two businesses, and one is a long way away and one is close to you, and everything else is kind of the same, I would be going for the one close because I don't want to get on an aeroplane every time I want to go and say hello. It just stands to reason. It's convenience, isn't it? And I want your life to be convenient and not to be stressful trying to do a dozen things at the same time. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been great. Shall we do this again? Just send me a quick message if you think we should do this again. Those of you who want to take the next step and do something with us, then go to dealmakers.co.uk/clarity. Have a no obligation conversation with one of my team, and we'll give you the options of what you could be doing next. Well, thank you very much. Have a great day, and I will see you again. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Business Buying Strategies. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. And remember, for more resources and guidance on buying a business, visit dealmakers.co.uk. Have you downloaded your free business buying toolkit yet? It's packed with resources to help you close your next deal. Get it now at dealmakerspodcast.co.uk. We're back in a fortnight. Until then, here's to your next successful acquisition.